Welcome back. I'm Natalie Nidham, your host. Now, you've probably heard of stem cells, exosomes, fibroblasts, growth factors, but did you realize that your hair follicles might just be one of the richest sources of them for you? My guest today, Dr. Drew Taylor, went from studying stem cell biology at Mount Sinai Hospital to founding Acorn Biolabs, where they've developed a way to non-invasively collect and preserve your most potent cells from those very hair follicles. We talk about the science behind it, how these cells could one day repair tissues, heal wounds, and as of this year, rejuvenate skin and possibly even assist in regrowing hair. Now, if you're interested in this, you're going to want to head over to acorn.me and check out their location services where you'll be able to find a provider near you. And when you do that, you'll be able to use this very special offer just for the listeners of this podcast, because you'll be able to get 1 free year of banking of your hair follicles so that not only can you use some of them for today, but you can bank some for the future as new technology is developed on how to use them. Now, to do that, all you have to do is go to acorn.me/Nat and use code NAT. All right. Now, this episode is brought to you by Puri, for the most clean protein powders and supplements out there, Kineon Move Plus, a revolutionary red light and near-infrared light therapy wearable device, and Digestive Bitters by Just Thrive. All of these have very special offers just for you. Just check out the show notes below for details. Now enjoy the show. Dr. Drew Taylor, welcome back to the show. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Excited to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you. It's been, how long is it? 4 years.
Has it been 4 years?
Almost exactly 4 years since
scary.
we recorded our first episode. And you know what, guys? We're not going to ask you to go looking for that episode because we're just going to start from the beginning here today. I'm like, I remember 4 years ago when I first heard about Acorn thinking, wow, that's kind of interesting. But at the time, it was almost like it was such early days, right? Like it was you had the vision, but it was still just a sparkle in your eye.
We hadn't launched yet. I mean, this was pre any commercial offering. This was in the idea phase. You kind of nailed it with just a sparkle in our eyes. I guess as a team, we were pushing towards creating a reality out of Acorn, but it was still before that.
It was still hanging on the tree a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's go back in time a little bit. Like you've had a very interesting professional arc. From pro athlete to PhD scientist, which may or may not have overlapped. And now here you are, CEO of biotech companies. So let's help us to understand this journey, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to go down the path of becoming an MD was actually the goal. So my father was a medical doctor. My mom was a nurse. And so medicine was a big part of our family growing up. All the way back in grade 7, I remember choosing my science projects based on what I could do to get more experience in the OR at that time. So while other kids were choosing like the guitar and other things to break down as their model of something mechanical, I picked a total knee arthroplasty. So a fake knee, it was a knee, I think, that we did. So I ended up going into the OR, watching it. It was an amazing experience.
Oh my
you
God.
can't do that today, I think, 'cause I'm dating myself a little bit, but you were allowed to, stay back, obviously, but witness these things. And so it was an amazing opportunity for me to see that live. And at that moment, it solidified my desire to go into healthcare. And actually, my goal is to become a surgeon. My brother, interestingly, was also went and saw the surgery because it was a pretty amazing experience. And when he came home and was talking to my parents, he said, "I'm thinking lawyer." So we had very different.
He wasn't big on the gore.
Very different reactions to it. So that was kind of the start of my passion for it. But I went to University of Michigan, did my undergrad there in biology, worked hard, and also did a master's while there. I was playing baseball for the Wolverines, so that was exciting. And applied to medical school. I was going to stay in Michigan and start my MD. When after that year, I was also offered a contract to play for the Blue Jays, which was exciting.
That is exciting.
Yeah, so hometown team because I'm from Toronto. So I ended up having a bit of a not really a tough decision, but a conundrum. I wanted to continue my education. I went and actually met with the dean and asked if it would be possible to do med school and play baseball. And I think when the laughter stopped, they said...
This was before Zoom was a thing, guys, just to be clear.
Yeah, you had in-person
online learning was
schedule.
not a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to go in there and dress to the nines and make sure to make a good impression. But evidently it was not possible to juggle those schedules. So, but I think the dean appreciated what I was trying to do, and so they suggested, look, if you want to see if baseball is going to work out and be a career for you, then I suggest a PhD. It's a much more flexible program. You don't have to deal with patients. You're in the lab. It's on your own kind of schedule and arc. And so that's how I ended up diverting into a PhD program. And so I signed with the Blue Jays. I reported to camp and ended up playing in the minor leagues for the Blue Jays for a handful of years, and the Phillies as well. Ended up having an okay career, but some arm injuries unfortunately slowed things down. So I was lucky that simultaneously I'd been doing the PhD and was able to leave sports with a pretty good education.
Pivot, as it were. Mm-hmm. What position did you play?
I was a pitcher.
Arm injuries for pitchers is it's a thing.
It can be, yeah.
It's the torque. There's a lot of torque involved, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And so how did we make that leap?
Yeah, so
What was a PhD in?
A PhD was in biomedical engineering.
Okay.
I actually specialized in stem cell biology and regenerative medicine. So using our own cells and stem cells to regenerate ourselves, heal tissues, and I specialized in connective tissues. So I was actually positioned, it was at the University of Toronto.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of my time also at the Mount Sinai Hospital in the Division of Orthopedic Surgery. Mm-hmm. And so again, I was going back into the OR room, and I was responsible for essentially gathering patient samples to see if we could use their very own tissues to, in the laboratory, create opportunities to leverage those cells for therapeutic benefit for those patients. So it was all in practice, but it was an amazing opportunity for me to really understand how we can leverage our own cells and our own tissues with the idea of returning ourselves from a state of performance, health, or longevity to an earlier point in time using those, and that's really the whole purpose of regenerative medicine.
So fast forward a couple of years from there, what do you think about the state of regenerative medicine now? Like it's a moving and grooving space.
Yeah,
like it sounds like you were involved in some of the very early work in this space.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in my undergrad is when they established the biomedical engineering degree, right, as an opportunity, and had all of those really areas kind of fast forward in looking at cellular medicine and how we can actually create cell-based treatments. So it was something that I had a chance to witness in that evolution. It's changed so much, right? Like we're actually now seeing patients receive benefit from these treatments. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a really exciting, because going from like the theoretical opportunities to now seeing patients that are actually benefiting.
Yeah.
And it's real.
It really is. So did you ever look at other were you always looking only at the endogenous stem cell, like using your own material, or did you ever look at the harvesting stem cells from umbilical cord or other sources? And what were you seeing as the differences and the pluses and minuses between the two kind of thing? I mean, other than the obvious, which is as soon as you bring something into the body from somewhere else, we're dealing with different tissue kind of, but...
Yeah, no, it's very true. So I would say that we tried everything, right? And we evaluated everything, and that includes, bone marrow, fat or adipocytes.
Yeah.
And then we looked at actually harvesting the specific tissues, so primary cells from the specific tissues. We were trying to engineer, in this case, cartilage in a particular program. And then on top of that, there's other groups or other people in the lab that were investigating spine, right? So they were actually getting cells from the annulus fibrosus and other areas of the spine to leverage. So it was really looking at a lot of a patient's own cells, so autologous cells. That being said, though, we evaluated having, access to donor cells. And so there's a number of different areas for that, bone marrow being another one. We also looked at reprogramming cells. So it was a very exciting time to be working right across the hall from where I was working. We ended up doing a paper together, was Anders Nagy, who is the second person in the world to reprogram cells after Yamanaka, and that who won the Nobel Prize, in 2012 for the ability to reprogram, a stem cell for a patient on demand, and that was a really exciting moment. So being able to work with someone like Dr. Nagy, who was doing that in that lab at that early time, was really a massive opportunity. So we actually were evaluating iPSCs as well at that time, so we're induced pluripotent stem cells.
Hey guys, I've created a free gift to thank you all for being here and for being a listener of this podcast. I've put together a list of my top 5 peptides. So all you have to do to get your copy of that is to go to natnidham.com/top 5. And that's it. Let's get back to the show. Talk to me about your transition here, because, where you are today it's a take on that, right? I mean, it's like we're talking about autologous material. What took you to the hair follicle? Look, let's just get to the point here. Yeah. Let's because I have so many questions about this hair follicle business. So
well, I did a ton of work there, and then I ended up having a very unique opportunity to join a venture capital firm in Toronto, and work with them on essentially evaluating early stage companies to invest in. And so I spent a fair bit of time there. I was part of diligence and decisions on about 28 investments into healthcare companies. So it was a really good education and experience for me, really, to sit on that other side of the table and understand what makes good ideas actually materialize, or good companies great, and how also great companies can unfortunately fail. So that was, I think, a really integral stop for me in my career. And then while I was there, 2 scientists that had been working on similar problems and had been put onto some of my work by a colleague reached out, and they asked to essentially collaborate. And so we started to kind of workshop through what this could look like. And one of the biggest limitations that I think existed in regenerative medicine was the morbidity around having to donate those cells. And so if you take a donor cell, unfortunately, it's not going to match our biology perfectly. And we'll have to put a patient on immunosuppressants, as we do during organ transplant and the like, even if it's a family member, even if it's a quote unquote perfect match. You do have to reduce that patient's immune system so they'll receive those cells and not attack them.
Right.
And so that was going to be a huge limiting factor, especially in some of the areas that were emerging in regenerative medicine for patient benefit eminently. And so this is aesthetics, sports medicine. These are areas of appearance and performance.
Right.
So we're not saving lives, right? In these situations. And so the intersection of risk and reward is very different.
Right.
So we're not going to induce a potential very negative reaction or rejection to a patient that can cause more damage than good for some of these endeavors.
But this is for more mature cells, right? Because currently, if somebody gets donor cells from, I guess it's from umbilical cord, you don't go on immune suppressant medication.
So right now there are no,
because I feel like I'm missing something.
Well, there's so we'll have to be specific about things in North America.
Yeah.
You can only receive an umbilical cord treatment in some very specific ways. Either if it's your own, and you get an exemption for receiving your own cord back, right? And that's usually a decision from the parents because
they had to have banked them in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the other one is in leukemia, right? Childhood leukemia. If a child develops leukemia within under 18 years, we'll look through a donor database of cord blood to try to do a match.
Right.
There are, outside of North America, in the world of travel medical tourism, many people advertising the use of umbilical cord cells for all sorts of different treatments.
Okay.
Those are unapproved. There are not clinical trials around them. And I think that there are some risks involved depending on where you go.
Really? Interesting. And so do people sometimes have immune reactions to these?
Absolutely. I've treated many patients that have gone to different countries and come back and unfortunately are seeking medical help because they've had a bad experience. You only really hear about the good experiences because people come home and brag about them.
Well, there have been a couple of very high profile, very bad experiences lately.
There have
which
been,
I'm not going to out right now.
No,
but
that's their decision if they want to talk about it. But there's definitively been some people that I know, even in my network, that have had very negative experiences and have not talked about them publicly.
And this is from stem cells specifically.
Correct.
So maybe I'm going to take a step back a little bit before we go diving into the hair follicle, because maybe help us. And I've done a couple of podcasts with them, but I think it's always a good idea to orient the audience around these different populations of cells that are being used.
Absolutely.
So we have stem cells, we have exosomes now that everybody's talking about exosomes, that are kind of like those little messenger molecules that really maybe a lot of people think are the money in terms of initiating a regenerative process in the body. So maybe can you kind of help orient us in all this? Because you've mentioned pluripotent stem cells, there's naive stem cell, like all of these.
So let's put all cells on a pyramid.
Okay.
Right, or a mountain.
Love that.
And this mountain or pyramid has 3 faces.
Okay.
At the bottom, the ring around the base of this mountain or pyramid is essentially all of your final cells that are performing a task in your body.
Okay.
So you've got a cartilage cell, a bone cell, a skin cell, spleen, kidney, you name it. They're all the different.
They're specific. They're
fully differentiated. They're doing their job. At the very top of that mountain is sperm meets egg, that magic moment where that cell can and will become every cell in that body.
Right.
So essentially you can imagine that top cell rolling down different faces of the mountain, different sides, to become one of those cells at the base or the bottom. Now, what's also true is that we have cells that are up different faces of that mountain. So they're not fully differentiated. They're either stem cells, adult stem cells, or progenitor cells, depending on their definition. And those are typically the cells that we target when we're trying to deliver stem cell therapies today.
Right, because we want flexibility.
We want to try to get a cell that still has the capacity to roll down multiple different end cell types. So it's up the face of that mountain and has many that it can roll down and become.
Right.
But not all of them.
No.
So the word pluripotent, all powerful, is you are at the top of the mountain and you can go down any of those pathways and have that cell roll down.
Okay. So how do we guide that cell?
Yeah.
And make it that we don't end up with a liver cell in our knee cartilage.
So this is a very important topic, because then this is one of the major reasons why we don't see this massive flooding of iPSC-induced pluripotent stem cell treatments.
No.
Yamanaka, who we talked about from Japan, him and his team ended up being able to reprogram. So they upregulated a set of genes inside the cell that allow a adult somatic cell to regain the ability to behave like an embryonic stem cell again.
That's mind-bending.
It is mind-bending. So it's taking a cell from the bottom and pushing it up the mountain to the top.
Like moving water uphill here. Yeah.
And it's unbelievably exciting from a potential standpoint, because now that cell that you have, you can create virtually any cell type you want from it.
Theoretically.
Yes, you have to make sure that you know how to push it in the right direction and make sure that it is fully pushed down that direction, because to your point, you don't want the wrong cell type in the wrong area, right? So if we're treating your skin and all of a sudden we start creating enamel cells, right? Or like that's a problem. So these are—
It'd be right out of Star Trek.
Exactly.
Episode.
These are major concerns and major issues, which is why there are no approved treatments. And even in clinical trials right now, there's very few instances where this is being tested. And if it is being tested, it's literally in like a single patient often.
Right. Who's so desperate for something.
Right. So you get approvals through either compassionate use pathways and things like that. And so this is the level of testing that we're at today with some of those types of treatments. But it has an amazing potential. Now, all the same things that come with that cell at the bottom are maintained. So there was some excitement around seeing if we could actually reprogram that cell and during that process have it act more youthful. And there's some indications that it's obviously has more that greater potential, and with that comes some youthfulness. But you are not wiping that slate clean. So the telomere length is still diminished. You still have a number of the things that you see metabolically with those cells, and so you're not wiping the slate clean from an age perspective with the reprogramming.
But are you turning it back, turning the clock back
its potential.
somewhat?
It's debatable.
Debatable. Okay. Yeah. Because I mean, if we could take an old liver cell and make it a young liver cell, that would be, I mean, that's what everybody's after these days, right?
There's a bit of a debate
the
there.
Young plasma. You want to talk about that a little bit?
We can't reverse aging yet.
No, well, not fully. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about all these biological age tests that are out there?
I think it's in its infancy.
Yeah. It's young days. I mean, definitely I tell people, if you're going to run a biological age test, know that it's a relative term. Stick to the same test. Don't go running around comparing one test to another test, because generally speaking, they're all looking at very different things. And it's too early days to understand what the correlation is between this one and that one.
So every single age test that I have seen also uses your age as one of the factors in the algorithm.
Right.
And for us to truly have, I think, an opportunity to test our biologic age, not chronologic age, we should remove chronological age as a factor in calculation.
So that you're only looking at the cell and say, this cell is 18 years old, that cell is 58 years old. Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, because
so you don't have that stake in the ground that you're using as a...
Yeah, there's a coefficient there that's being used to essentially make sure that it's not too far from the actual age. And I think that when we fully have data sets, and again, I think a lot of people are doing some great work around this. David Sinclair is an incredible scientist that's doing some phenomenal work in this area specifically. But there are in a lot of the commercially available tests, there's still a lot of these practices. And so I think that it is in its infancy, and I think that there's been a number of people, you can find them Googling, that actually had tested out blood from different fingers, and they came back vastly different, right? So like there's examples of where the weaknesses are. However, I think that any of these diagnostics that we're using are exciting as a driver for you to take control over your health. And so if you are not, I think the danger is if you are making decisions on neglecting your health because you have a poor age score, so you then assume you're not going to live very long. And there's been some cases like that. So that's where I think you get into danger when you're using one of these commercial tests to say, so a very famous case was, I don't know how famous it is in my circle anyway.
We move in different circles,
There was a woman that turned down treatment for her cancer because her biologic age test was so low. She was like, well, I'm going to die naturally anyway soon.
Oh my God.
So those are the things where
that's also bad education.
So this is the danger, right? Where people are making decisions that can have vastly negative instances on their health based on a test that is not, I think, not truly medically diagnostic yet.
Yeah, and I think that, the ideal would be to use the information from the test as a stimulus to change behavior.
Exactly.
In a positive way.
Very well said.
Versus the other way around. Okay, let's get back to our cells, because...
We're going on tangents.
Because we keep moving into different directions. So folks, we're coming back to the cells here. We're coming back to these stem cells and different cell populations that can really help to move the needle physiologically. So, I think you have this very interesting trajectory here where you started off kind of athlete/scientist, simultaneously moved into the business world, which is so fascinating, right? Because in many ways, so few scientists have that opportunity. And as you said earlier, so many good companies go down because the people running the company are the scientists. They don't have the fiscal awareness of what it really takes to become successful beyond an amazing discovery. So you got that perspective. Then you meet the guys who are doing the work and you're like, oh, well, I want to go back to that.
Yeah, it's tempting.
It's pretty tempting to go back to that. But help me out here. How did we make the leap to you plucking hairs off the back of my head, which I have photographic evidence of, which will show up on social media at some point.
You would have been one of the very first people doing it back then. And I know that you're always on the cutting edge, but in this case, definitively, we essentially were collaborating to try to find ways that we could harvest cells non-invasively from a patient, because that's important. After all, when you think about grabbing cells from a patient and saving them for later, most of the areas where we're grabbing them require either pain, discomfort, the invasive surgery, right? So
or all of the above, really.
Drilling into your iliac crest for bone marrow, it does not tickle, right? Like these are things that, are a hurdle for us to get over.
And expensive.
And they're expensive. So we wanted to find something that was as non-invasive as possible, was as cost-effective as possible, because we actually wanted this to be something one day that could become part of the standard of care.
Yeah.
Right. So if we all had our cells from a younger self tucked away, then we've got a really valuable resource for the rest of our lives as we continue to age and want to fight that. So that was the premise on our investigation of these different cells. And so I had some experience when I was working and looking at different types of cells, up and down that mountain, and knew that there was some really exciting cells, these mesenchymal stem cells that exist in our hair follicles, as well as disparate through our fat, as well as in our bone marrow. And so we set out to start to evaluate the hair follicle cells and compare them to many other different cell types, both harvested invasively and also things that could be harvested non-invasively. And so, you can filter your urine for cells that slough off, the lining of your bladder. You can look at mucosal layers. You can do skin punch biopsies. All of these areas are interesting and have different levels of invasiveness. And through the, blood.
Blood. Right? I was going to say, like, there's
peripheral blood, venous blood. Like there's different types of blood too. So we evaluated all of these, and by far and away, the hair follicle emerged as the ideal source. It has a unique combination of being of that pyramid that we talked about. It covers 2 of the 3 sides. So 2 of the 3 germ layers that our cells divide into are covered within this very small hair follicle. The cells are quite robust. So they're packed in around each other, and they actually can protect each other. When you think of blood, those cells are actually aqueous or in a liquid, right?
Yeah, so everybody's on their own journey.
Exactly, right? Yeah. And so that can lead to some susceptibilities of how you would treat those cells and stabilize them. And so with the hair follicle, they almost were like stabilized themselves. They did need a little bit of help. And so we actually invented and patented a liquid, a media that supports those cells after we collect them, but before cryopreserving them. So a transport media. So we really, love their robustness. But on top of that, the cells are harvested non-invasively. So from a patient perspective, having some hair follicles plucked, you've gone through it,
minor foul.
Yeah. My wife and I, there's 3 boys at home.
Everybody's been plucked.
Yeah. And the youngest, at the time, I think getting collected was probably 6 or 7, but he saw his 2 teenage older brothers do it. So he wasn't getting left behind.
No.
So, and no complaints. And if there's anything to complain about, we would have heard it. So it was, it's a very easy thing to go through. And now you have your own younger self cryopreserved. So for all of those reasons, we love the hair follicle. And so we ended up really testing it out. We tested out being able to access the mesenchymal stem cells that are within it. We tested out the viability and uses of the keratinocytes that are present, which is like the surface layer of our skin. It's an ectodermal lineage, right? So it's another valuable cell source. And then we actually evaluated how these cells produce a number of different factors.
Okay.
And this is kind of leading us down a pathway of talking about exosomes,
right?
Peptides,
Signaling molecules.
Things,
yeah.
Right? So
sorry. So the 2 cell there's 2 cell populations in the hair follicle, or more?
Yeah,
2.
There's 2.
Okay.
So you have the you've got the fibroblasts and mesenchymal stem cells,
okay,
right, which is one lineage, the mesoderm, and then you also have the cells that are from the ectoderm. So that's the skin, your skin, your nerves, right? So a different layer of cells.
Wow.
Yeah, so you actually have all these. So we've taken the samples of the hair follicle, and in our lab, we've been able to take just the bulb of the hair follicle and create, obviously, skin, cartilage, fat, bone, neurons, immune cells through reprogramming, pancreatic cells, so endoderm, the other layer, through reprogramming. So it's really opened up an amazing opportunity.
Super versatile.
To have a cell source that can be used in all of these different ways.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met, and even since then, and I remember at the time, the motto, if you will, was you're never going to be as young as you are today.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know that you're however old you are, but tomorrow you're going to be older. So chop, chop, get on with it. How important is age of harvest to the viability and the usefulness of the cell populations that we're getting from the hair follicle?
Yeah, so it's a phenomenal question. And so we approach this in really two ways. And so we want to try to preserve youth in any way possible. And this is two major ways we try to do this. One is by capturing your cells as young as possible.
Sure.
If we're dealing with autologous cell sources, you're as old as you are today. This is the youngest you're going to be. So this is your best bet, right?
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seize the day.
Exactly.
And the hair.
On the other side, though, when we look at practices that leverage donor cells, it's never, like in this world right now of aesthetics and orthopedics and sports medicine, we're never taking these one-to-one. So we're never having a donor that's donated to you. That donor is being used against multiple patients. And this really causes a bit of dilution, for lack of a better word. If you have your own materials, you're also using them to treat yourself.
Right. So it's like a first generation. Exactly.
We're not having to divide, culture, and further exhaust those cells.
Right.
And so there's been some fantastic studies by Hartman et al. And Patel et al. That have looked at some of these common practices in using donor and allogenic cells, and what the end result is after these practices. You end up having cells that are much older than the person that you've actually harvested them from.
Because they've been multiplied so many different times.
Exactly.
They've been expanded.
They're essentially fast forwarding decades of aging in weeks or months in the laboratory of growing these cells. And so that's a major issue that exists that is not talked about, because we just go back to how old was the source, but we don't ask what's been done in between.
Yeah.
So this is an area that we spend a lot of time on. So it's the obvious part is just banking your cells at the earliest point possible.
Yeah.
The next obvious part is we've innovated and even patented processes around how we treat those cells so that we don't induce additional aging as we prep for creating therapeutics for you. And that, ultimately is able to be done when you have that patient's own cells.
Okay. And so is there a way, I have so many questions about the cells in that follicle. So the cells that are in the hair follicle, have they always been there? Do they renew themselves? Do they like are those cells as old as me? Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like have the cells inside my hair follicles been around for 61, almost 62 years now, or?
Yeah, well, it depends on how you would define them, right? So their mother cell has been, right? So they're coming from divisions of original cells that have been there around since conception.
Okay.
Right? Those cells, and when they're actually created, will carry on the characteristics of some of the aging, right? And certain cells in our bodies age at different rates, and our stem cells are obviously very efficient at trying to resist that aging. What we find in looking at the cells that exist in our hair follicle is we've got very high concentrations of adult stem cells, these mesenchymal stem cells, as well as these other cells that are specific to the hair follicle.
Right.
These hair follicle specific stem cells. And so you've got, and then you have progenitor melanocytes as well, the ones for pigment. And so you've got all of these different cell types that are working together. But the mesenchymal stem cells, I would say, is kind of the star of the show.
Yeah.
And those cells are very common, and you would hear about them in a number of different areas as being investigated for a wide variety of different applications, stem cell applications today.
Yeah, we hear about MSCs all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So you have this nice package, and yes, it is aging with you. But what we also see is that what happens, I guess, more dramatically is we have stem cell escape, or really stem cell loss. So the number of stem cells is dropping.
So you have fewer stem cells in the hair follicle as you age than you would have as a 5-year-old, let's say.
And the ones that are there are still working very hard and productive, right? So they're valuable, and that's what we've seen.
And they're your first generation. So that's where we get to that value equation.
To us, it's let's preserve what you have.
Yeah.
Right, because you've got value at any age, and especially if it's your only option if you're looking at autologous treatments, and you want to receive something back that you're going to accept. So ultimately, it's locking that in time as early as possible. But there's a number of very good reasons of why it's never too late. And
what's your oldest person that you've harvested from and successfully treated?
I mean, I can think of somebody 87 off the top of my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was this for aesthetics? Because that's
is
the only
healing.
approved use right now, right?
Yeah. So this was actually a study that was, so this individual's wound care specialist wanted to try, this person was diabetic, had a diabetic foot ulcer, and was not responding to a number of different treatments. And so they had an open wound on their heel, and it had been there since last October.
Oh my God.
So months and months.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting approached to try out the Secretome as an option for this patient who really had tried a number of the traditional methods. And we ended up creating their Secretome. We harvested their cells in real time, so harvested them and then started Secretome production. 87 years old. We did analysis on the protein spectrum, and one of the interesting things about us creating this product, which is a Secretome-based product, and we'll get into some definitions there, I'm sure.
Because we're going to go back to the exosome in a minute.
Yeah, they're linked.
Yeah.
So Secretome is just a bit wider. So we created a Secretome product from that patient's own hair follicle cells and stem cells that we had harvested, and that was applied to this wound. So it's topically, but it is on open skin.
So it's
in this case.
Almost like...
Yeah, so this was a case study that we ran with this patient because they were having trouble having this closed, and within the month they had a closed wound.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was very exciting for the patient. They were ecstatic. Their specialist was quite impressed, and so it's led to us really starting to evaluate some of the options in diabetic foot ulcer, venous leg ulcer, and wound care. People are already using it in aesthetics alongside, elective procedure wounds, right, to inhibit scar tissue formation. One of the molecules that's produced by these stem cells in our hair follicles at very high levels is fibronectin.
Okay.
Fibronectin is essentially the railroad tracks that tell where collagen fibers to orient in the right direction.
Yeah.
So it's very valuable in inhibiting scar tissue.
Right, because scar tissue is disorganized fibers, right? Basically.
Often, yeah.
It's like the body's like, just fix it.
Yeah,
I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
Just close it up.
Sometimes it goes a little overboard, like in keloid scars and things like that. But this is a way to try to keep at least orientation in the right direction.
Huh. So let's go back to, you said earlier we were going to get to exosomes with respect to what lives in the hair follicle. So I have a bunch of different questions there, but let's go back there because I think I ended up taking you off track at some point. So we have the mesenchymal stem cells, we have the fibroblasts, we have keratinocytes, and you were going to go into a part of it that in that population of cells, I'm guessing there's also messenger molecules or cells. Do we have some type of basically exosomes in there as well?
Absolutely. So exosomes are released by almost every cell type that we have. They're released in much higher volumes from stem cells. And mesenchymal stem cells being one of the prime candidates that is a high producer of these communication extracellular vesicles, or EVs.
They're like the packages. They're your FedEx package, the packages that FedEx is sending to your house.
So I use this comparison all the time. I use Amazon Prime, but it's close enough.
FedEx, Amazon Prime, UPS, whoever your favorite is right now. Not Canada Post.
We want them to get there, right? For today.
One day. Yeah. Maybe.
So we have, our neighborhoods are like our cells, our structures, our homes are our cells, right? And the Amazon Prime truck drives around and delivers packages to houses. And that's essentially what your stem cell and your exosomes are doing. The exosomes are the packages, the stem cell is the truck.
Right.
So the value is actually from the stem cell being delivered through these exosomes, peptides, small molecules that are being released. What we do when we think about how to harness the stem cells therapeutically without having to deliver a live cell, and what the excitement around exosomes is what if we just took all the exosomes out of the back of the truck?
And how do you know the instructions that are in each exosome?
So this is we're getting into now kind of the spectrum of options that patients have out there.
Yeah.
And some people are doing a good job of that and some people are not.
Okay.
But it is important to know what those messengers are. And a lot of people are not investing the energy and actually doing the work to decode what is in all of these exosomes, because you have a multitude of things. You've got the actual proteins and peptides, right? Growth factors.
Yeah.
You can have mRNA, molecular, genetic cues to help our cells know what to upregulate and what to do. There's other elements within these exosomes, but essentially we need to decode, right, and invest the energy, time, and resources in understanding what's inside these exosomes.
Yeah.
Exosomes originally, like when I was going through Bio 101, exosomes was a way for cells to get rid of waste. We know better now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there was valuable things, and it was actually used in communication. That's why stem cells produce so many of them, because they're actually the way that stem cells communicate instructions to other cells and benefit to other cells, and even resources like growth factors to other cells. But it took a while to really fully understand that. And then exosomes became a bit of a buzzword. A lot of people
They're
jumped.
huge right now.
Yeah, a lot of people jumped on exosomes, but not all exosomes are created equal. And to your point, we need to understand what's inside them, because exosomes is packaging. It's not the therapeutic element themselves.
Right.
They are a very elegant delivery system. And so if you think back to Bio 101, a cell has a phospholipid bilayer. That's the shell of the cell. Exosomes have the same thing.
Yeah.
So they bud off of the cell. And because of that, whatever cell they came from, they have the same surface.
Right.
Now that's good and bad. One, other things on the surface come with that. So it's not just the shell. It also is surface proteins.
Right.
That are identifiable by your immune system. And, things that we can identify as foreign or from ourselves. And so we'll get into that. But what this does now is the exosome can actually go then merge with another cell.
Yeah, it's like the lipid bilayers.
Yeah.
And then gets eaten.
So it's as if Amazon Prime didn't just throw the box up the stairs, right?
Opened it into your house.
Yeah, they open your front door, they deliver the package, and they actually unbox it for you.
Yeah.
That's what an exosome does. So it's a very elegant delivery system. What's inside that exosome, you better want inside your house.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
And not only that, it's got to get to your house. So you have to be able to deliver something that is actually getting through to your home. And that there's two elements there. One, exosomes do have MHC complex on the surface, so they are identifiable like a cell would be with that surface membrane. The same mechanisms our immune system have to identify foreign materials also work on exosomes. And so that's one of the issues around donor materials is a problem with exosomes as well. And then secondly, people are using a lot of exosomes topically right now.
Yeah.
And it is going to have a limited or a reduced effect unless we have the opportunity to have these come in contact with live cells. Because
they need to get in. They need to penetrate.
The surface of our skin is without proper abrasion, right, or cleaning and all of these things, is dead skin cells, right? Like it's this built-up stratum corneum that we have on the surface of our skin that's difficult to penetrate even for an exosome because they're coming in contact with dead cells, not live cells.
Well, and it's built to keep the outside out.
It is.
To a large degree.
Yes. And so we have pores and we have different ways for, hair follicles like is another way that these things can get absorbed in. And so you've got an opportunity for some of that to get in. But if you really want topically these elements to get in, it's best paired with modalities that open up our skin, microneedling and other things that are very popular, laser treatments that are very popular in aesthetic medicine.
Okay, we're going to back up again.
Yes.
Because I want to know how I can use the Secretome from my hair follicle and not end up with a full face of hair.
Okay.
Like, how do you know? Yeah. I mean, the good news is I can assure you it doesn't happen. I'm moving into month 3
Amazing.
Of having my own Secretome applied to my face. And I think my skin's looking good. Yes. I'm glowing. And I'm not hairy. So, but help us, because these are, you mentioned it early, right? Like keratinocytes, like all of these different cell populations live inside the hair follicle. Yeah. And I know that we can use our Secretome for hair regeneration as well. So how do you know?
So
what are you doing?
So the Secretome is not live cells.
Okay.
The Secretome includes exosomes, so these extracellular vesicles.
Your own, by the way.
Growth factors, right? So things that stimulate development and proliferation of our cells. peptides, which obviously you know more about than me. And
I'm fascinated. Which peptides? Is GHK in there?
Well,
because, it is naturally occurring in the human body.
It is. So we're doing some analysis on the peptides. They're obviously smaller, right? So we started with larger proteins like growth factors, and we're working down. But then on top of that, you've got, mRNA, and so you've got a whole genetic side to evaluate. And so you have all of these different things that are inside and outside of exosomes that are present in the secretome.
Yeah.
Including large matrix molecules like collagen, elastin, fibronectin, some of these elements that are the building blocks in and outside and around of our cells. Mm-hmm. The other thing that it has is polynucleotides, right? So these are the segments of genes. It's made popular by people doing the salmon.
The salmon sperm thing. I've seen some pretty horrific pictures of that. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon.
But I'll take my own nucleotides for sure.
Sure, bring it.
So all of these elements are within the secretome, and so it really is a exosome plus, right?
Correct.
Because a lot of people know the word exosome. Secretome is I've been publishing on secretome since about 2009, but it is not. I think it'll become one, but it's not the buzzword I think that is a household name like exosomes yet.
Oh, no, but it will be, because secretome basically implies that it's been secreted.
Exactly.
Okay, so but you haven't told me why I'm not getting hair on my face yet.
So the secretome has no live cells in it. So we're not actually delivering you.
You're delivering the messaging of regeneration and growth without the specific, this is how you make a hair cell.
Right.
Got it.
So what we're doing is if you have hairs that exist, right, like in your scalp, we're stimulating those that have been producing hair and maybe are producing less thick hair, or vellus hairs like the tiny ones, or are in a state of dormancy. We can kind of kickstart those to actually stimulate them to start producing hair for yourself, which is why people are using it topically, for hair treatments. But on top of that, if those molecular cues and those growth factors are supporting your skin cells as well.
I see.
And so if you do not have pores, you're not stimulating hair and existing hair follicles that are there. Okay.
So for the hair regeneration, and I think this is important to talk about, because if you say it the wrong way to someone, they're like, perfect. So if I've got a bald spot, I should be able to get it to fill in with this stuff.
Yeah.
Not so much. So you need a working hair follicle. You're basically going to improve the existing hair follicle's function. We're not quite at the point where we're going to revive a hair follicle that's become dysfunctional.
I think regenerative medicine is moving in the direction to be able to engineer those things definitively, which is why we believe so heavily in banking your hair follicles and freezing them, because they can be a template to create new hair follicles for you on demand, or clone a hair follicle, right? So those are possibilities. Right now, this acellular application, the secretome, is the secretions, like you said, of our stem cells, and they will stimulate other cells to perform. That can include our hair follicles, but there is a state where you're kind of beyond the ability to re-stimulate those.
Like a micronized hair follicle that's been affected by DHT, for example.
Yeah, so if enough time has passed, and you can kind of see on patients, they get the shine, right, in some of their bald spots, right, where you really don't have that production of even vellus hairs, or those follicles have gone into a true state of dormancy and have been that way for a while. It's very difficult to revive those.
So what about someone who's in the process of their hair follicles, like let's say you've got a younger person who is experiencing the progression of male pattern baldness, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a young patient. It's really like any patient that is in the process.
Can it slow it down?
Absolutely.
And reverse it in some ways, as long as the hair follicle's still there and functional?
Yeah. In our study to date, right, and again, this is an ongoing study, but we have 75% of patients, right, at this early stage that are saying that they're happy with the results they're receiving. That can include a number of different things, including the regeneration of follicles, so they're getting some growth back.
Yeah.
Their hair that is there is thicker.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they're stopping further loss, right? So these are all objectives. Hair is a lifelong battle, right? And there's nothing today that is going to replace a transplant.
Right.
But we work with a lot of hair transplant specialists to do a few different things. One, stave off the need for a transplant until later, right? So that you don't tap into your donor sites too early. And then secondly, to support a hair transplant itself.
Because you would think, exactly, once you transplant, you transplant, you can apply your Secretome.
Yeah. We've got one person that calls it like the Apple Care to your iPhone. This is the hair care to your transplant.
I love it.
So yeah, so it's being used in a number of different ways for people that are trying to not have a transplant, as well as people that want to support their transplant.
And can you use hair from anywhere in the body? Because what if someone doesn't have that many hairs on their head and they're hanging on to the few that are
most people have hair on their head, and we are taking only a handful of hair follicles, 50 hair follicles. When you think about the fact that a normal healthy head of hair is over 100,000.
Yeah.
We always take from the occipital region, so the traditional donor area. But the difference with us is the hair follicles grow back. With the transplant, they're gone.
Yeah.
When you pluck them, your hair is coming back.
Right.
So it's not a permanent donation.
Right. Those 50 hairs came back.
Yes, exactly.
From 4 years ago. But can you take facial hair or chest hair or back hair? I mean, I know plenty of people who'd be like, just take my back hair, man. I don't need it.
So our head hair has the longest anagen phase.
Okay.
Right. So there's that benefit. That's where we did all of the testing originally in the performance of the cells in the hair follicle. I think that there's theoretically, obviously, possibilities for hair from other areas in the body, but by targeting anagen phase follicles, we want larger follicles. Head hair traditionally has larger follicles than body hair, although I'm sure some people can rival.
But antigen phase being in the growth phase.
Anagen phase is the growth phase.
Oh, that's right, because your body hair, your facial hair does, but your body hair doesn't just keep growing indefinitely. It grows and then it's
cycles.
Yeah.
So I mean, it comes back and there's cycles through it, but absolutely. And so those cycles can be a little bit slower and the anagen phase not for as long. So we target head hair, and I think that's our
gold standard,
fully validated gold standard way. But I think that, we've tested out beard hair, sideburn, other areas of facial hair.
Close to the head, but not quite. Yeah.
But your nerve ending, you have some less nerve endings on the back of your head.
Oh, yeah.
So I've donated a beard hair, and it's a thing. It's worse than at the
brings
back.
A tear to the eye.
Still better than bone marrow, but
by a mile. Yeah. Let's go back to your professional baseball career.
Okay.
You were limited in your success by an arm injury, which presumably was it cartilage or muscle tissue?
So I had a tear in my labrum and my supraspinatus part of the rotator cuff.
Okay, so these are common sports injuries. Do you think that this Secretome could eventually be applied to those types of injuries as well? I mean, I would guess the long game goes beyond making prettier, hairier people.
Yeah, so absolutely. And we are engaged in early studies right now in collaboration with the University of Calgary in testing this out in orthopedics and sports medicine.
And any preliminary, anything, any hints of...
Yes.
Is this viable?
So we've done an animal study that will be published later this year, and the results were exciting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. Because, the other exciting thing, I mean, there's so many exciting things about this, the non-invasiveness, the fact that it's your own stuff. So there's no mounting of an immune response. Right. But it's also incredible, compared to all the regenerative stuff out there, it's wildly affordable.
Yes.
From a relatively speaking, I mean, it's, to do your 6 treatments for your face over 6 months, if you were doing that with donor stem cells or exosomes or whatever, you'd be in the tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah. And here we don't even hit $1/10,000 of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on who you see, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
We know people.
Lots of options, but it's true. And I think it's, it could be our Canadian roots even, but we wanted to make sure that this was accessible.
Yeah.
Definitively, we want it to be accessible to bank your cells.
Yes.
Right. You can decide whether you want to engage in treatments for aesthetics, sports medicine, and elsewhere. But we definitely wanted to make sure that people could afford to do this and lock in that biologic insurance policy for themselves, and then ultimately have an option that is one approved and available in North America. Because oftentimes you're getting on a plane, you're traveling,
I know, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Really.
I mean, there are there are options here, I think, in Canada and the US as well to get kind of in, some of these things a little bit ahead of schedule, so to speak. But what we're trying to do is work in tandem with Health Canada and the FDA to make sure that we offer an approved treatment. And because we're working with your own cells, I think we have a major advantage there.
Yeah. What about for burns? You would think, I'm just, sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit, but when you're talking about an open wound, you haven't tested it yet because you would think that there's potentially, because when you're looking at people getting skin grafts.
Yeah. So we've really been supporting study right now in patients testing this out in aesthetics, right? It's been the big wave of what we've supported. We've got a couple of other smaller studies that we're supporting, but the ones that we really like is when a physician wants to test this out themselves in an area where they, based on the data, think that this can benefit patients.
Well, that's like your wound care guy.
Wound care guy. Yeah. We've had patients that have tested this out and had great results against psoriasis and eczema. Nice. Lichen sclerosis is another example of something that has a case study that was very positive around. So it's fun to see those things happen in the wild, right? As your product gets out there and into physicians' hands.
Right, but it's not approved for those uses yet.
No,
you need your doctor.
Those are all topical applications,
exactly.
Right? So it's you're the world of progressing in delivery it starts as a cosmetic topical and then it goes into an injectable and beyond. But
so I want to go back for the audience to this one thing that you just said a minute ago, which is really important, which is even if you don't know that you want or can or don't have the funds to pay for one of these applications of your Secretome yet, you can very affordably have the follicles harvested and frozen and cryogenically preserved, right? It's kind of like an insurance policy, right? And I had my son done, husband done, but I mean, if you've got, and your children at as young as 7 years old.
And I have banked our parents, our kids, ourselves, other family members, right? It's something that, if you think about it, right, this is an insurance policy. You want to kind of share that with people you care about. So we definitely have been making sure that everybody's covered, so to speak.
So jumping back to the face, do you have a lot of people now who've done the microneedling treatment 6 months in a row? Because that's the protocol at the moment, right? Yep. You do 6 months of microneedling, a month apart each. What are the results that people are seeing?
Yeah, it's been exciting. So there'll be a paper coming out that's actually getting drafted up for the first wave of patients that have gone through that and reached that time. I mean, this was only really made commercially available in January, so we're early in the cycle of getting the data back from the practices on the performance, and it's been really exciting. The microneedling we have seen, based on Visi analysis as well as global aesthetic improvement scores, a reduction in wrinkles, pore size, UV spots, based on what you can kind of see under the skin with some of the different lighting that Visi can do. And then we've actually seen improvements in just skin quality and texture. Nice. So it's definitely delivering some value for patients, even paired with microneedling. What we also see is a progression in benefit. First time people see immediate benefit, but the second time it's almost like 1 + 1 = 3. And so as you kind of go through that protocol, which is why we deliver the Secretome with multiple vials that you can use throughout a time course, it really is exciting.
And are you studying different age populations? Like, are you segmenting? Because, like using it for someone in their 40s and using it for someone in their 60s is going to be two different
It's going to be two different things.
There's been a lot more wear and tear on this face.
Well, whatever we want to call it, I think what we're seeing is younger patients are also getting benefit, which is exciting.
Great.
Right? Like, so we have patients that are in their 30s that are seeing big swings in the quality of their skin. And so I like to see that patients from all ages are getting benefit, right? Some from people that are doing this early. We've had patients in their 20s do this, all the way up to that individual who's 87 that, did this for.
Well, I think what'll be exciting over time will also to see in that younger population, are you slowing down the aging of the skin? Because, one thing I figured, it took me a little while to figure this out, and I've now become like the person who's yelling at every young person I know, start now, don't wait, because turning back the clock, as we talked about earlier, is a very different proposition than slowing down the clock.
Yes.
And, an ounce of prevention is whatever that expression is.
And I think you hit the nail on the head. people right now are wanting to do everything they can, and if we do everything we can right now, all we can do is slow down the aging process. It doesn't matter how many push-ups you did the day before or what your diet was. You're a little bit older when you wake up the next day, unfortunately.
But that's okay. It's better than the alternative.
Yeah, we're not reversing the clock yet. So I think that this is one of those areas where your words are very poignant. If you can slow down aging, right, slow down that process, that's our best defense. Because once that aging is accumulated, there's no evidence to suggest we can necessarily reverse it.
100%. And it's an interesting thing, because if you think people will say, well, I'm already 60, it's too late. And I'm like, when I was 40, I might have said the same thing, because I didn't look necessarily like I did when I was 30. But looking back on my 40-year-old face at 60, I'm like, I looked pretty good at 40. So I would take that. And I know that when I'm 70, I'll look back at my 60-year-old face and say, I'd like to look like that now. So wherever you are in your journey, I think there's something to be said for just slowing things down a little bit. And I would say that I've already noticed, like, the hydration status of my skin has changed. It's like your skin loses the ability to hold moisture.
Yeah.
And even just after 2 treatments, it's changed.
Yeah. That's what I experienced as well.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree. We're going to look back at whatever time that we're making a decision and say, I wish I had
that
access to that.
Yeah.
Whether that's 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, even 80, right? And we've had patients that have banked themselves at 87, right? And their mindset is, well, I want to be around to 90 or 100, and my cells at 87 are going to look better than they did.
Well, and I think that as the research goes on, if you're right now, your next phase, you're really looking at kind of sports applications. But at some point, you're going to move your attention to systemic, whether it's the pancreas or the liver. Yeah. I mean, I met a guy at the airport the other day who's created a titanium heart. Like, mind-bending, which is super cool. But it's titanium. What if you could potentially help the heart to regenerate itself? I mean, believe me, this guy was super cool. I'm hoping to have him on the podcast. And it uses Tesla principles, and so it spins instead of pumping. Okay. Super cool.
Yeah.
But if we could stick with the biologics, I still think we're ahead. Yeah. We're a little one step further beyond.
Yeah. Everything breaks down, right?
Eventually, yeah.
And so we have to replace things a certain way, and I think biology provides the opportunity to do that inherently, right? So if we can actually deliver cells, our own tissues, organs, and things back that have the ability themselves to regenerate and heal, I think that's the best course.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the intersection between some of these,
bionic.
But yeah, exactly. Right. is super fascinating. And I'm going to listen to that show when that one airs, that episode. But
the people you meet in the airport when your flight's delayed.
That's hilarious. Like, what are the chances that that's who you actually chatted with? So I think all of these things, and we're doing it right now. There's the work is definitely takes a time to come to fruition. Sure. But we've been able to create effective cell types in the lab. We're not putting them to patients yet. But that being said, I think they're really promising avenues for the future of regenerative medicine. Like, we've been able to create pancreas cells on demand. The big one that I have been working on recently in a collaboration with the National Research Council is actually taking the hair follicles, reprogramming them, so creating the iPSCs, and pushing them into hematopoietic cells and into NK cells.
For immune.
Right. So we've created immune cells and specifically NK cells. And so for anybody that wants a 101 on NK cells, they're natural killer cells. And they're a very unique immune cell in our bodies that not only helps us, but they actually identify our own cells when something has gone wrong. So instead of targeting foreign materials, like that's someone else's cell, that's someone else's exosome, whatever, they're actually looking at our own cells when things go wrong. So they're our first line of defense against cancer cells.
I was going to say, like the big C.
And senescent cells. And I mean, we probably get cancer multiple times a year,
Yeah.
but it's just a single cell that's gone haywire, and our NK cells wipe it out. Unfortunately, what happens as we age is our NK cells drop off a cliff. And so now we have a lot less of those cells patrolling our bodies, and cells have an opportunity to jump to a cluster, to a tumor, and then all of a sudden, we now can't defend ourselves against it.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's an immense opportunity at creating our own NK cells and maintaining our cell populations as we age. So that's a big project that we're working on, and we've been able to create NK cells and actually have demonstrated that they are effective in the lab in co-culture at suppressing growth of cervical cancer cells, breast cancer cells, ovarian cells.
Wow.
So there is real avenues for us to, I believe, have almost boosters where
Of your own.
of your own NK cells. As you get older and your populations drop, we can supplement our cells with our own cells to defend ourselves. And it's very important with NK cells. Like, we're identifying something that's foreign. So coming from your own material takes on a bit of a heightened importance.
Yeah, that is unbelievable. All right. So hopefully you guys are pretty excited about this. I know I was excited 4 years ago and I didn't even know what I was going to be doing with my cells. So I'm mega excited now. I have a couple of quick fire questions to finish off. Actually, maybe I'll do those first before we tell people how they can access this magic. Do you feel that your sports career, as short-lived as it might have been, nevertheless got you through university and all these different things, what disciplines came from there that have helped you?
Yeah.
In your career, your further career?
So I was pretty lucky that I grew up in a healthcare and baseball family. Like my dad was a baseball player as well and had a phenomenal career. And so being able to follow in his footsteps in both camps was tremendous. But I think there's something special about being on a team. And baseball is even more unique, I think, because the positions are so different. Maybe football would be the one that's even slightly similar, but the pitcher has a different body makeup and a different skill set than the catcher, which is totally different than the outfielder or your shortstop. And so you really learn very quickly that there are other people around you that are better at something than you, and to rely on them to do that thing really well.
Yeah.
And I think baseball is a good example of having that mentality of, like, doesn't matter if you're, the catcher or the pitcher, or you think that, like, the ball's in your hands, you're relying on people behind you to do their job better than you could if you were in that position. And I think that's something at a company or on a team that's delivering healthcare is a great mindset.
Yeah,
and that's what we've tried to do at Acorn, is we've tried to really, assemble a team of people that do jobs better than others, right? And so I'm the first to admit that we've got a fantastic group of people that do things way better than I do.
I love it. What are you most excited about looking 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road for Acorn?
Yeah. So it's a big question, because there's so many areas that excite me right now. I think that because of my roots in sports and orthopedics, and my dad was a sports medicine physician, I think that I see a real tangible benefit that we can deliver in that area. And that's in the world of performance in sports, but it's also in the world of pain management, right? I still feel that exact spot in my shoulder to this day.
Wow.
Right? If I sleep on it the wrong way, it's barking at me, right? These are things that are chronically going to affect us as we age. And if we can stave off that degradation or enhance the healing, I think there's a massive benefit. I mean, just think of arthritis in general, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, or hip degeneration.
So that's something that I think is, like, on the horizon, right?
Right.
Like, that's coming quickly, and we're already engaged in study to deliver that. On the other side, I would say that some of the long-term work that we're doing is, I think, is tackling some big things.
The natural killer cell is pretty huge.
Natural killer cells,
organs.
I mean, the pancreas stuff. I mean, all these things, like, hit home, right? My brother is when we were like 9 and 10 or something like that, he developed diabetes, juvenile diabetes, right?
Wow.
And so his pancreas stopped producing insulin. And so, even just the promise of being able to engineer his own cells from a simple hair follicle to produce his own insulin again and deliver his body the ability to do that again is a pretty exciting endeavor. So all of these things, right? We all know somebody that has dealt with one or many of these things. And so there's no lack of passion from our science team because it's personal.
So much. If you were going to give people some advice on the 3 or 4 most important things they can start doing right now to further longevity, health span, we talk about health span a lot, what would that be?
Mm-hmm. So I have to say right off the bat, I believe very heavily we should be cryopreserving our own cells as soon as possible. And so that's something that
Number one,
we'd be happy to do for you. So that's super important. I think if you look at all of the different things that are going on right now in longevity, in biohacking, in all of these areas of investigating, one of the crucial things that I think drives longevity is relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think it's exciting to talk about supplements, it's exciting to talk about peptides, and it's exciting to talk about banking your cells and some of these things. But have meaningful relationships, intergenerational, and obviously, it's super important that you're close to the people around you, and you have relationships that you can rely upon. So don't neglect that part. Is
Love
huge.
It.
Yeah.
Uno más.
Yeah.
One more.
Listen to your body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Life is busy, right? And I'm guilty of this myself. And sometimes, you are racing to accomplish the next thing, dropping the kids off at school and racing to work and all of these different things. Take time, whether that's meditation, whether that's just mindfulness, whatever you want to call it. Vacation, right? Yeah. At some point in your schedule, take time to sit back and listen to your body because it will talk to you.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Drew, Dr. Drew, how do people get access? What do they do? Where do they find you? We're going to have a code for you, or a link or something for you guys in a very special offer. It'll be in the show notes.
Yep.
But in the meantime, how do people look you up? And if somebody is a practitioner, how do they access your service? Because that's another big piece of this. People who are listening to this, we're going to have consumers, but we're also going to have practitioners.
Absolutely.
And you can be offering this as part of your practice in your office, even if it's just the harvesting and the preservation, or if you have an arm in your office where you're offering microneedling now, that's an option as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Or laser applications. This is being paired with plastic surgery, being paired with elective surgeries as well as hair, right? Transplants, things like that. So I think there's a number of areas where we're seeing it actually drive some benefit for patient care today. And so if people are interested in looking that up, either as a patient or as a practice or a physician that is interested in learning more, you can go to acorn.me.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to, one, as a patient, identify all the locations that are going to be available. And again, through your podcast,
we're going to create a link or something.
We're going to have a special link that has a great offer for listeners and your base. But for you can actually look up places in your area, right, from coast to coast.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then for practitioners, they'll just reach out to you through the website.
Yeah, you can reach out through the website, or you can grab us online at Acorn Biolabs on Instagram. We're very active there, and so you can reach out and ask for more info. And my handle is Dr. Drew Taylor.
Love it. And also, you'll find Dr. Drew Taylor and his team at any number of events near you these days. Yep. So, well, Dr. Drew, this has been an absolute pleasure. Always great to talk to you.
Always. And overdue.
But I feel like we're going to be sitting here in a year having a whole other conversation about what the next big thing is coming down the pipes.
Can't wait. You'll be the first to know.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.